My name is Randy Dean, and I am the totally and completely obsessed time management PDA guy, and it's really true. I'm the guy that basically anytime I drive any place, I try to figure out the path with the least number of stoplights. Reason being, I once read that we spend an average of 6 months of our life just sitting at stoplights. I want that time for me. And so that's what we're going to really spend our time talking about tonight, is going through a lot of strategies and opportunities to give you some ideas on how to take this beast, which is your email account, and get it under control. Email is a wonderful tool for business advancement. Do you remember back in the late 80s, early 90s when we all started getting online and getting our email accounts? Think about what that's done. I mean, you have the ability to communicate with people globally, instantaneously, and share not just the text information but file packets including significant documents all around the world. It is a huge business advancement tool, but it's a new technology still. It hasn't even been here 20 years basically, and what happened is not many of us have been formally trained in how to treat this business tool so that we can use it as part of our proactive system for getting in front of our life. And what we've done instead is we've developed several bad habits that have turned it into a very reactive and emotional tool. What is the average amount of time that the average professional in the United States is spending doing their email every single workday? Any guesses? 2 hours is the amount of time that people are spending on average just reading and responding to emails every day in their work. And about 20% of managers are spending 4 or more hours per day just reading and responding to emails. And I tell you, if you think about that, you're doing 4 or more hours per day, and your goal is to work a 9, 10-hour workday. Some of you are like, gosh, I wish I worked a 9 or 10-hour workday. If that's your goal, you're spending more than half your time just doing email. And then you're wondering, why can't I get my projects done? This might be part of the reason why, is that the email account has gotten under control. One of the first recommendations that I like to share with people when it comes to this topic is this. And this is a habit. This is really sort of one of the big tips. Don't just use it for email, use it for everything. And I'd say not even just everything in your office, everything in your life. The 3-minute, 1-touch rule. And I consider it the ultimate office clutter buster. And here's the way this thing works. You get into the habit whenever you're in your office working on anything, that if you're going to look at something new, regardless of what that new thing is, you're going to look at something new, if that's an email, a voicemail, a snail mail, an article to read, a report to review, whatever that piece of information is, you get into the habit to where you look at it and you touch it one time and you make a decision very quickly. And the decision is this: will this take 3 minutes or less to get it done right now? If the decision is no, you put it into a pile for prioritization. If the decision is yes, it takes 3 minutes or less to get it done, you do it right now. By moving it out of your way and getting it out of your account, it allows you to keep that account under control. And more importantly, it allows work to flow. Now let's focus on your email account. Let's really think about your email account. Here's the thing I recommend. These are the 3 to 4 accounts that you want to take a look at. One is your professional account. Don't give it out to anybody other than people that you work with and do business with. Do not give it to your family and friends. Then what you do is have a personal email account. And that personal email account is the one that you give to all your family, your friends, all those people like that. And then that third account is your internet account. What's that for? Wherever you do your online commerce, give them that third account, because that's where a vast majority of the spam is coming from. Now here's one of the other key things, all right? So you want to have yourself a good structure here in terms of the number of accounts that you have to help diversify the amount that's coming in. What is a blinger? What is a blinger? Well, let me show you what a blinger is. Any of you ever have this habit? You're working along, whatever you're working on your desk, and all of a sudden, bling! You jump over, because the Outlook just turned on you. Bing! Every time. I see people do this all the time. They're working, bing! Every time. They have to jump over. And what that is that's one of the worst habits you can possibly have when it comes to being proactive and maintaining your productivity. Basically, every time that thing goes off, you're giving yourself an interruption that's causing you to lose your train of thought on the project that you're on. But the key point here is that you want to balance responsiveness with your productivity requirements. Most of us have to both be responsive as professionals, getting back to people in an appropriate, considerate manner, and yet we also have our work to get done, don't we? So what we want to do is balance that. When do you check your email? Here's the 4 times. Here's the 4 times I recommend for most professionals. Most. Now, if you're deep into client customer service, you may want to do this more often. If you're big into project management and planning, you might even want to dial it back a little bit from this. But here's the 4 times I recommend. First time, first thing in the morning is part of your getting yourself together process. When you get into the office, get the computer booted up, trying to figure out what you're going to work on that day. Second time, about an hour before lunch. Again, right after lunch. And also about an hour before you leave. Do not check your email 5 minutes before you want to leave. You can also check after significant project completions, like you're working on a project, you get done. When you're done, well, you can check it. Or you get done with a meeting. You get done with a meeting, you come back, you haven't started on anything else, another good time to check your email. So you can add a couple times throughout the day when you're doing this stuff because your train of thought is not invested in something. But the key thing that you want to do is maintain that train of thought when you're working on the big project stuff by not getting distracted on the emails. But see, what we're trying to do with these 4 times a day is balance that responsiveness with being able to be proactive with your work. Now here's some more email strategies that might help you get through this. First, goal is to keep your inbox empty. The key thing is that whenever messages come in, you want to take an action on them. Meaning, you want to reply to them, forward them, tickle them, file them, or delete them. Other thing that I learned is that you want to be ruthless. You know, in this day and age where we're getting bombarded with so much spam, so much junk, so many viruses, so much spyware, it's probably a smart philosophy to be a little bit ruthless when it comes to your email account. Another thing is be considerate. Any of you have people that like to carbon copy everybody on everything and all the time? Yeah, that's a little bit insane, isn't it? Think about your email this way. Is this the most efficient and appropriate tool to make this communication right now? Now and then, the smarter thing to do is use a different communications mechanism. And then here's the other thing. If you got a whole office of people that are doing this crazy stuff, this is worth the time to get them on the same page. See, here's what you want to have left in your inbox. Only things that still require an action. If it requires an action, it should be there. Okay? And if it requires an action, that means that you're going to plan to put it into your workflow and take action on it in a pretty short order time frame, usually a day or two. You know what I think that one of the very best uses of your BlackBerry devices or your PDA device that has email coverage is very simply this. I don't like to respond to emails on them. You know why? You're slow, aren't you? It's hard to type on these things. You're a little bit inefficient when you're doing that. But you can see what's in there, can't you? Here's 2 things that I like to do. 1, I get an email on here that requires a quick response. Voicemail. Call them. You can do it faster than you can type it. Or 2, use your BlackBerry or your PDA device email so that you can go in and delete junk whenever you've got a few minutes break. Let's take a look here. Let's go into my inbox. And I want you to take a little bit of a tighter look here. Alright, what I want you to see is the file structure that I've built inside of my inbox. But here's one of the things that I've done. You'll notice that inside my inbox, I've got a bunch of folders. These are my archivals. This is where I put all of the information. This is where I put all of the emails that have been acted upon. I put them in here and I keep them under order. And then here's what I do. When I do this, it's pretty easy. You know, if you're an Outlook user, you right click and it's very easy for you to come down and make a new folder. You do new folder, MSU Chicago. See that? You hit OK, and it'll be right in the list. Now, I don't want it in my ASTD file. I want it down here in my MSU MBA alums file. See, you can grab them, move them, drag them, however you want. It's easy to create folders. They take up virtually no memory.